guess that's what it means.
Okay. Call this meeting to order, friends. It's 4:03. I don't know if you had a chance to review the minutes. If you have, somebody could make a motion to approve in a second. Thanks, Mike. Second. Thanks, Elizabeth. Okie dokie. All in favor?
Yes.
I have to follow the checklist. Awesome. Okay, approved. Chad, we don't have any emails or anything?
Nope.
Okay. Well, we have two guests here today, and I'm gonna give you guys the floor to introduce yourself, and we're thrilled that you're here. So
Okay. So how about we introduce ourselves and then maybe we go around.
Sure.
About you as well. So I'm Marco Tipton with Ameren, Missouri. I've been with Ameren for 10 years now. I work in community development and local government affairs, where we build and strengthen relationships with primarily elected officials, but also nonprofits and things of that nature. We, over the last couple of months, we have received requests from sustainability committees such as yours. And we try to help communities grow through multiple different things: economic development, energy efficiency, electrification, and really we're often the conduit to many different areas within Ameren. We oftentimes get calls from vegetation, reliability issues, anything Ameren comes to our team, and then we bring experts such as Ken with electrification, depending on the issue. So a little bit about me, and happy to see all of you today.
So Ken Cressman, Ameren, I'm with the efficient electrification team. So what we do is we work with our customers to help them see and understand the path towards electrification. Get them on the path, keep them on the path, moving down the path. So my primary focus is with medium duty and heavy duty vehicles. So I work a lot with businesses and municipalities and various government agencies on fleet electrification, both initial consultation, site design, things like that, but also just, hey, what could this possibly mean to us? And we do that in a number of different ways. Everybody's kind of in a different place and have different advantages or can use EVs in different ways. And it's our goal to help set our customers up for successful deployment. Because a successful deployment is what we're after, not any deployment, right? Bad deployment's worse. So that takes many different forms. Some of the forms are a study, some of them are a demo, some of them are hey, come to Ameren, take a look at how we do charging, and everything in between. So I spent a lot of time speaking with customers on that.
Great.
I'm Todd Red, Director of Public Works and the staff liaison to the Sustainability Commission.
I'm Pam Bliss, Webster Grove City Council and liaison for the Sustainability Commission.
I'm Elizabeth, I'm a member of the Sustainability Commission.
Jeff Tovich, I'm also a member.
John Berenson, I'm a member.
Carla Armbruster, also a member.
Mike Stousen, member.
I'm the Unruh member.
Jamie Hepsmeyer, chair. This is a pretty incredible group of human beings who have a lot of expertise in the field of sustainability, and we are really eager to hear what you all have to share with us.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So we're excited to be here today. There are a number of municipalities who have sustainability committees. We have not talked to all of them, but a few have reached out, you guys being one. And they're made up sometimes of city council people, residents. So and also many municipalities are actually adopting EV charging stations. So it's good that you guys are going down that path. With that said, maybe I'll just open it up. Ken, you want to
Yeah.
this thing off?
Yeah, so all things EV, right? So everybody starts their electrification journey in a different place. But everybody benefits from the electrification journey. And that's really what we're going to talk about is what is an EV. And so you're focused on sustainability. So some of this is going to be pretty basic, but I can't assume everybody has the same knowledge base. So, this is for you, and I want to encourage people to ask questions. There's no such thing as a bad question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And if you meet anybody that says they know everything about EV, they're lying because it just changed. Check the news cycle, right? There's always a new advance. So this is a kind of intended to be just a basic starter to talk about things and then kind of see where you're at, and we can follow your lead with any questions you have. So we can run into EV 101 just a little bit. So what is an EV, right? There's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle and there's a battery electric vehicle. A plug-in hybrid electric is different from a hybrid in the fact that it plugs in, right? So, and that's really what we're here to promote today. Some people would say, what does it matter?
I have a question.
Yep. Yeah, sure.
So
Perfect.
if you're plugging it in, are you charging the battery?
Yes,
Okay, so
exactly.
they both have batteries.
Yes.
Okay.
So a traditional hybrid vehicle that wasn't plug-in had a battery also. It was just a smaller battery
Okay.
and it never plugged in.
Okay,
It
Um,
recharges as you're braking.
okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the delineator, and that's a good foundational understanding. And so when we talk about a BEV, or people just abbreviate that and just call it an EV, we're talking about an electric vehicle that can drive on only electric power. Now, within the plug-in hybrid category, there are what people would call, strong plug-in hybrids, which means that they can drive for a longer distance, but they still have that hybrid capability. So that's kind of one of the things developing in the market today. But when we talk about electric vehicles, what we're after and what our programs are designed to support are vehicles that plug in. So if you want to go to the next slide. How you plug in, and hopefully many of you already know this, but I want to make sure we touch on it. And it looks like the formatting jumped around on us a little bit. Sorry about that. That's modern problems. But so how do people charge? What most people don't know is that you can survive off a 120 volt plug just fine. I've been doing it since 2020. It's really not that hard. If you're going to live that way, you have to adopt the ABCs, which is always be charging, right? If the car is parked, it's charging, and you get by just fine. That is not the most efficient way to do it. Level 2 charging is much more efficient, and the reason is because there's certain electric components that are on when the vehicle is charging and need to be on with level 1 for a longer period of time than level 2. So it's more efficient in level 2. And then within level 2, there's different speeds. So what we've got here is 16 amp to 80 amp, and that's a reasonable approximation of what's available out there. And as you might imagine, the faster the level 2 charger, the more miles you get in an hour. Okay. The other thing you might want to think about is the bigger the car, the less miles you get in an hour of charging because of efficiency. Again, one way to think about it is, a GM Bolt, right, is going to be probably about 3 times as efficient as a Ford pickup because the miles per gallon of those two types of vehicles are about 3 times different. So, these things follow with what we already understand with miles per gallon. It's just a little bit different because now you're using kilowatts. Okay. And then level 3, I really don't like to use the word level 3 because people get confused. There is no technical level 3. It's a jump to DC fast charging, but it's commonplace for people to refer to it as level 3. And that is a different architecture of charger. It's significantly faster. Again, people say a charge of 80% battery in 30 to 45 minutes. That's shrinking. Some of them now are down to 15 minutes, depending on the voltage architecture of the car and the speed of the charger. And just like within level 2, there's different levels or different speeds. In DC fast charging, there's different levels and different speeds. And different cars have different voltage architectures that allow them to go even faster. So this is not black and white. There's many shades within each category. So if you want to go on to the next one, thank you. Looks like there's a little bit of anybody. Yeah. So why drive an electric vehicle? Oh, that's not, wow. So multiple reasons to drive an electric vehicle. Environmentally friendly. There's less emissions. There's cleaner air. There's less emissions at face level, right, where we live. There's economics. There's less maintenance. Consumer Reports did a wonderful study that ballpark the long-term maintenance cost of an EV at about 50% of a comparable internal combustion engine. And then lower fuel costs, fuel costs move around, but on average, an easy way to think about it is an EV is about $1 per gallon. And so if you get, if you've got an 11 mile per gallon vehicle, you know what you're spending, and if you've got a 30 or 40 mile per gallon vehicle, and then the last one is do not underestimate it. EVs are a lot of fun to drive. Just quick show of hands, who's driven an EV? Oh man, I would have thought it was at least 80 or 90. So I encourage you to find a person that owns an EV and ask them to let you drive it. Hardly any EV owner would say no, especially if they already know you. Right. They're a lot of fun to drive. They've got a low center of gravity. They ride like a much larger car than they are because of that low center of gravity. And they're instant acceleration. There's no lag. It's easy passing. It's a very pleasurable experience. And then the one thing that sets some people off about EV driving is EVs have a mode that drives like a traditional vehicle where you coast and slowly slow down. But then almost all EVs have what's referred to as single pedal driving mode where you never even touch the brakes. And that it would be kind of like if you remember when you were a kid, you drove the bumper cars at the fair and you let off and it slowed down. That's what it feels like. And many vehicles have different grades. You can strengthen or weaken it. The Bolt has a lever you can pull or paddle on the steering wheel that helps you slow down even more. It's really good user feedback. So lots of fun to drive, and I really do encourage you to drive. Next, we'll talk about EVs available today. Not many people realize just how many EVs are on the market today. And this list has grown since I put it together, but this is ranked from cheapest to most expensive at that time. There were more expensive vehicles, but I figured I'd stop there. But the point is this is growing, and I think everybody in the room is well aware of the targets in place, 50% by 2030, and the goal for us is really make sure that people are aware that there are vehicles that are affordable. They may not be cheap, but they're affordable for a wider segment of the population than maybe your Tesla, which is what everybody thinks of.
Another question. You're welcome to just say this is, too off topic. But, there's an argument to be made that electric vehicles are great if you really, really need a car. But if you already have a car, to junk that car in favor of an electronic vehicle is actually like you have to take into account all the energy that was used to make the new car that arguably you don't really need, and the waste that's going to have to be, gotten rid of. So how does that factor in?
Well, complicated answer. So the used car market's very, very, very big in the US. And you remember a while back, there's a thing called cash for clunkers. And cash for clunkers had a very, very sharp line, and the line was around efficiency and emissions. So, if there was going to be a program like that today, I'm sure it would be focused around vehicles that don't have the cleanest reputation, and it might even be around vehicles with extremely low gas mileage. So at that point, it's about the life cycle of the vehicle, and your decision today isn't just about the impact of today. It's about the entire life cycle of that vehicle. Because the thing about EVs is that they're just plain more efficient, and the bulk of that efficiency is driven by recuperative braking. So all of the energy in starting is not all of it. A significant amount of the energy required to accelerate that vehicle is recaptured, put back in the battery, and then is used the next time you accelerate. And that efficiency. Those efficiency gains happen for the entire life of the vehicle. Right. Your average vehicle on the road is about 12 years old today. So it's not so much about just what happens this year. It's about what happens every year behind it. Does that make sense?
It does.
That answer your question?
Yeah, but I guess I'm just wondering, if we think about meeting these targets, right? Are we taking into account just, okay, this car is this more efficient than that car? Or are we also thinking about the fact that, oh, a new car got produced and that took a bunch of energy?
Yeah.
Does that
yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, I mean, and I think, a lot of the incentives are around new car,
Mhm.
so they're trying to incentivize maybe one type of new car instead of another.
So
type of
maybe
new
you would
car.
be buying a new car anyway.
And now the new program coming out, there is gonna be a rebate for used car sales also. To help, and I think, at least for me, that's more of an equity play. Where, trying to provide equal access to these, because who doesn't want to be able to drive up to the gas station and pay $1 a gallon?
No.
Everybody wants to be able to pay $1, right? And so, providing an opportunity for people that are in the used car market to be able to capitalize on that savings, I think is important.
So can you tell me, is there a change in total greenhouse gas emissions if you're driving a internal combustion engine versus if you're using an EV, but your power provider still burns coal?
Absolutely. And you can wade into that rabbit hole and go as deep as you want. The results are, even if a car was driven on 100% coal today, it's still cleaner.
Okay.
And that is, and you can go, Argonne National Labs has got a report on it, and I can get you a direct link here in a second. The best one is going to be, what, I'll email it to you. I didn't put it in here. The EPA has electric vehicle miss section that answers a lot of that, and that talks about the life cycle greenhouse gases, and that includes battery mining. Now, a lot of this depends on how you drive the vehicle too, right? Efficiencies matter, but then the Department of Energy has an alternative fuels data center, the AFDC, and that is by far the most comprehensive one. And you can even drill into Missouri, and it talks about the energy mix and what's cleaner and what isn't. And then I think, Forbes put out a nice one on battery recycling too. Because, the beautiful thing about batteries is that they are recyclable. I think a lot of people forget about that, or, this would account for all of the GHGs in the use of that battery in its first life. Where it has a second life, a stationary storage, and it has a third life in recycling, and then who knows how many lives after that.
Stuff.
Great question. So, what's coming down the pipe? The Ford Lightning Pro is here. If you placed an order a long time ago, but it is here, and it's growing. Very popular vehicle, especially with the businesses that I spend most of my time speaking with. Cadillac Lyric is on here. It's important because it's 300 miles. Was in a relatively long range for people, and then the 2024 Silverado is going up to 400 miles. These are new vehicles that are noteworthy that are coming to market. Then when we talk about medium duty and heavy duty, because many people don't realize what's going on, and this slide is dated. Many of these have moved to the next segment or beyond, but this is just how much focus is in medium duty and heavy duty EVs in development and launching today. I think if I started this talk and asked how many companies are working on large trucks and electric, not many people would say that many are doing it. Maybe people heard of the Mack or the Volvo, right, or the Daimler, but there's a whole wave of vehicles that are in trials or just now starting sales. So it's really the new marketplace. Most people are familiar with passenger vehicles. Medium duty and heavy are the next wave. And you speak to waves. So how are these things going to launch? Wave one is transit buses. Hopefully you've all seen what Metro has done with their electric buses. So that's the first wave. Second wave is delivery vehicles. I'm sure you've all heard of orders. Perhaps the company that delivers packages to your door a couple times a week has a bunch of trucks that are getting ready here to be launched, even in our area. Then we've got medium duty freight. So this is what they call regional delivery trucks. And then there will be corridor long haul coming. There's a lot of different things that come to play with corridor long haul, but that those challenges are being discussed and are being tackled today. But right now, you know, wave 1 transit's out there, wave 2 deliveries out there, and wave 3 medium freight is very, very near. They've got vehicles on the road, it's just not mass yet.
Is the medium freight gonna be dump trucks too, or no?
Yeah, dump trucks and trash trucks.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was
Trash trucks were-
trash trucks are coming. Trash trucks are a wonderful example because they spend a lot of time braking.
Yep, yes, they do.
And they spend a lot of time repairing brakes.
Yeah.
Which is less in the EV. So the other thing I like to talk about, everybody says, well, great, how fast is this gonna happen? Well, on your left-hand side is from NACFE, the National Freight Efficiency Standards for like trailer aerodynamics and powertrain and low resistance tires. It's a pretty slow adoption rate. On your right-hand side is the adoption rate for US smartphones. Okay, now what we're talking about today isn't exactly fleet efficiency, but it's not as simple as a smartphone either. So, but I like to make this the recommendation to people that, you know, it's going to happen a lot faster than you think, and that the early adopters that have placed orders now are going to be well positioned to capitalize on this as a competitive advantage. Whereas the people that sit on their hands and wait at the back of the line, they're literally going to be stuck at the back of the line. And this is why we work with businesses in our region to help them put a plan together so that they're primed to take advantage of these vehicles as they come to market. And then, you know, I've talked through a couple of these issues, I think, with Todd over the past couple of months. This isn't easy, okay? Fleet electrification has lots of challenges, and this is just a small subset of the things your average fleet and operation manager has to be concerned about as they're going through development of a strategy to deploy EVs. And, you know, Ameren as an organization is focused on trying to help fleet managers navigate this in a way that's pragmatic, right, and successful, because ultimately we want successful deployments. And then the way that we start that with many people is a fleet electrification study. And that is the start of the journey. It's not every step along the way, literally just an assessment of how do you operate, what vehicles do you have, what's the opportunity? You know, what does it look like if my fleet was to adopt EVs? And there are many decision points along the way to do that assessment, but it's a very critical point in helping people get their plans together. So this is just an example, right? We looked at one depot, happened to have 130 vehicles. We filtered this based off of economic feasibility, not technical feasibility, just economic feasibility. So these only the vehicles that are cheaper to electrify. If it was 1 penny more to electrify, this assessment wouldn't have done it. I would challenge many of you to say, well, how much money is it worth to electrify? But that's a different discussion. So this is just money. So out of the 130 vehicles we looked at, only 22 of them were economically viable. Most of that was because a lot of those other vehicles were larger, medium duty, heavy duty vehicles, and the price point on those is pretty high today. But for these vehicles over the 10-year lifespan, the net savings would have been $442,000 if they deployed those 22 EVs today. So not earth-shattering numbers, but positive numbers. You know, green that saves green, right? So lots of drivers behind that. The biggest drivers are obviously the maintenance and the fuel costs. Any questions there? Usually I perk somebody up with that. Not much. Okay. All right. And then that assessment happens. You're fine there. That assessment happens strictly on money. That was based off of gas at like $3 a gallon, so it's a little bit different today. And the other thing is that there's no cost of carbon. Some organizations have chosen to apply a cost of carbon, and that helps them make their decisions. So what do we have available? Yep, go ahead.
So could that study include cost of carbon, or would that be something we would have
It
to draw
can.
from?
Yeah, it can. We use the help of a third party by the name of EIQ Mobility and their data science firm. They've got some standardized reports they use and methodologies that they do it, and they're very good. There's a reason we work with them. But we can tweak the reporting, especially the final report or the summary, to around just about anybody's needs. And everybody wants to look at it a little bit different. And we're okay. You know, this is for you or for our customers to evaluate their fleet the way they want to evaluate it and see what makes sense to them. And we don't do that. It's not open book. We don't do it for everybody. We're trying to be very selective about who we work with on this. Again, we want successful deployments. So what support do we have today? We've got an EV charger incentive program. It's designed to support business, government, public fleet charging. The incentive is up to $5,000 per level 2 port and $20,000 per DCFC port. It's 50% of total project cost. So if you have an engineer that has to do design work, that's part of the project cost.
Is that to the end of the year?
It's actually going to run. We just got word it's been extended through 2024.
Okay, good.
Or until the money runs out. Thank you for
I
bringing
think
that up.
authorizing my installation for my chargers, so.
Yeah.
Waiting for them to start it.
No, we just learned last week that it got extended. So there is a cap on the money though. So the money might run out sooner than 2024.
We'll have it installed either
There you
the
go.
end of this year or early next year.
And the only thing to watch out for there is that you have to apply before you break ground.
Okay.
That's really the only thing.
I'll give it to you tomorrow then, because I issued the purchase order for them to start work.
Well, yeah, and you know, many projects that we do things like that, they're complex civil engineering projects. And people are doing some paving work and they're doing a number of things all at once. Okay, well, I was just gonna say, what we care about is anything associated with EV. And then the next,
And I just have to add here, there are several municipalities who have adopted and taken advantage of our programs, Brentwood, Richmond Heights, Maplewood. So you guys will fit right in here if you guys take advantage of this.
yeah, and then, you know, why are people doing this? You know, many of the organizations we speak with are looking to attract talent. They do workplace charging for their employees. And they're really, you know, trying to drive up the amount of time that people spend at locations. So that's one of the key incentives. If you want to run the next one, the formatting can drive me nuts. Sorry, guys. We're trying to create a competitive advantage over different customers and you know, that doesn't seem right, but many of the organizations I speak with have sustainability goals. And oftentimes we meet with the sustainability manager who has an objective and doesn't necessarily know how to get there. So, you know, this is typically one of the concrete ways that they can come in and they can say, okay, we've provided workplace charging to our employees. You know, what can we claim for sustainability associated with that? We've provided charging for our fleet. We know that that's a hard number. You know, we know what our fleet numbers are because we studied them, you know, and then, you know, maybe we do some sort of public charging accessibility, and the value stack there is really quite good. Imagine you've got fleet charging, that the fleet's out all day. And they charge at night, but they're out all day. If you can provide public access to that, now people that don't have charging in their garage can charge using the fleet charging. So there is a value stack that's we can skip to that.
That incentive that you showed, that was
Yeah.
only fleet charging, right?
So there's 3 different aspects: public, apartment complexes, and fleet or workplace.
Not single family residential.
Not single family residential and not condominium either, because it's classified as a residence.
In public would be like, any city-owned lots.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
sort of.
So you think about in front of fence and behind fence. So as long as it's publicly accessible and open, genuinely open to the public, that's public. Behind the fence is it's you know, not acceptable or not accessible by the public.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about that kind of situation you described where the fleet would use it at night and the public would use it during the day? Does that qualify for 2?
That would be a bit of a challenge, right? So the only people that have done that today have done that with fast chargers that are speedier than this program
Makes sense.
would do, because that's the need that they're trying to fulfill today. But I can imagine a scenario in which you've got, say, 10 for public use and 10 for workplace use, and the workplace happen to be open to the public, you could make 2 grant applications for it. And then you max out both. Right?
What are the possibilities that you would extend this to residential? It's been talked about.
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah. This program was written in 2018, and much of it was informed by the Missouri Public Service Commission.
It's actually not that expensive to put a charger in your house. We actually ran around, but you just have an electrician run the wire from the box and it's just a dryer plug. So you just put a dryer plug in and then you're set.
Okay. Just looking for incentives.
Everybody.
What kind of work do you do with cities to determine in terms of public charging availability? Where to put them in terms of strategic placement and density of chargers per EVs on the road? that
Yeah,
kind of
so the public charger discussion usually starts with this, what's your definition of a win? What are you looking to achieve? If an organization is looking to deploy public chargers to make money off of kilowatt hours, the joke in the industry today is that there really isn't a business case for it. What's the business case for public charging? There isn't one. But that's growing, and as the number of EV drivers on the road grow, the business case improves. Okay, utilization goes up, and as long as utilization is high enough, eventually you start to turn a profit. So it's a little bit kind of like the Wild Wild West right now with some of these, bigger public charging conglomerates. For smaller organizations, metropolitan areas or commercial zones that are looking to attract people and get people to stay, apartment complexes that are looking to attract people and get people to stay, retail organizations that are looking to attract people and get people to stay. These are the reasons that they do it. It's not too hard to imagine why a casino wants you to sit there for a while, right? So those are the types of successful financially viable EV deployments that exist today. Advertising is another one, but go ahead. Yeah.
So the city would be allowed to charge the public for using.
Yeah.
The sharper.
Most certainly. Yeah, and that costs money to do it. So with workplace charging, where employees show up, some organizations say, look, I don't know, I'm not necessarily comfortable giving kilowatt hours away to my employees. Let's set up a system that tracks it all and does it all. Problem is, the system that tracks it all costs more than the electricity you're people away. So there are pragmatic ways to go around that. So the things that I like to coach people on is like, we all went to university, right? Think about when you're at school, you had a parking pass, right? Well, you charge $5 for the parking pass, and $5 subsidized the electricity you're going to draw from it, and boom, you've avoided the cost of a key fob and all the management hassles, and all the accounting hassles, and all of the equipment surcharges and user fees and monthly fees. But you've still recovered some money, and you've enabled your workplace to charge.
So are any cities viewing this as a revenue opportunity?
I don't know. Hard to say. I think a lot of cities are looking at it, wondering if they can turn it into a revenue opportunity. LA's done work on street charging and things like that. And there's several different, projects underway. But the money's just not there yet because utilization's not there yet.
Right. Because when the money is there, then the private sector is going to come in here.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is don't forget about most charging happens at home. Remember at the beginning I said always be charging, right? Most charging happens at home. So it's not like we need to fill up, right? You never really need to fill up. You're just topping off.
Right.
Always. You're just always topping off. And so, that's why they say about 80% of charging is going to happen in the home.
Right.
So the true energy need of public is really to facilitate long distance travel and then to provide equal access to energy for those that don't own houses.
And Ameren would much prefer people charge overnight when demand.
That's exactly
Yes.
right. Yeah. Well, not just Ameren. We all
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're trying to take a long view
Yeah.
on this, and we're really fortunate that here at City Hall, that we're already basically implementing phase one, as Todd has mentioned, on placing where we're gonna place our chargers in our, for our fleet. But we'd like to explore what it might look like being right off Highway 44. For Webster to be a charging destination. We have plenty of retail to support folks who need to, use that DC level 3
Okay.
charger. And so I'm curious, if there are best practices that you all know of or can point to, or if it's just still too much like the Wild West, like you said earlier, to understand what types of, people, how humans respond to that sort of infrastructure.
Yeah, so the best advice I can give you is contact your utility about the site that you're thinking about and see what kind of load availability there is.
Okay.
Because that's a big piece of it. What power is available and what's it going to cost to bring in the power.
Mhm.
The other thing that I tell you is the NEVI funding, the North American Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, is under development in Missouri. And we're kind of like at the plan to plan stage. But the goal is going to be to have charging sites about every 50 miles. And there are some loose requirements about, what type of chargers they're going to need, and they're fast. And I think it's right now it's framing up. It's probably going to be about 4 350 kV chargers, which are pretty big. They're very big right now. So that's going to be driven by load availability. So locations that have easy access to high power are going to be favorable from a cost standpoint to locations that aren't. The other thing is lead times are long.
Mhm.
So if you know what you're going to do and you get moving today, you'll be ready tomorrow. And you don't necessarily have to pull the trigger, but doing your homework will speed you up in execution. And I think that's an important thing. And then the other question I get on that is, isn't technology going to change? Like, is it going to change? Is this going to be a sunk asset? And the answer is, okay, yes, cars are going to change. Chargers are going to change. The connector, probably not. The CCS combo chargers is here to stay for the foreseeable future. And the conductivity of copper is not going to change. So if you've got wires in the ground and you've got good charging spots, those are assets that are going to be there for a very long time, regardless of charger or car voltage architecture.
So what I hear you saying is, from the city's perspective,
Yeah.
Sustainability Commission, we just want to,
Yeah.
I think, enable electrification of transportation from a sustainability standpoint, and be ready when all those cars start to hit the road.
Yeah.
The charger, the hardware is the same, but the cost of doing it is going to differ dramatically depending on the distribution grid and where there's
It
access
has an
to.
impact. Yep, it has an impact.
So knowing ahead of time what size will be better from that standpoint.
Yep. Just like it's important to know you're close to the highway.
Yeah.
Right. And then I remember you asked me another question about siting. We don't do any real siting analysis for people. I can't in good faith tell somebody, this is your revenue that you're going to generate from this site. I can't, because we don't know what it's going to be like. But there are organizations that do surveys, that look at sites and can give you an estimate. Many of them are companies that build out their own charging today, so that charging as a service companies, but they've developed their own siting mechanisms, and for in areas they don't operate, they sell the siting mechanism. And I'd be more than happy to look at them.
I was just thinking in terms of, we just want, I think we've talked about it as a commission, putting the chargers where they make the most sense, where they're going to get the most use.
And so, where are they going to get the most use? When people are traveling through, they need the fastest charging they can get, right? Where people don't have chargers in their house, they need access to charging. And that can be overnight. Or workplace. Any other questions? I don't want to build up your meeting. Right.
No, it's good. It's all good. Anybody have any other questions? Are you finished? I don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, I I'm happy to talk about anything you guys need to talk about, but I think I've covered the basics.
I will bring one more thing up. Someone mentioned about single family homes. We do have municipalities adopting what we call EV readiness ordinances. Which, and it's for new construction, right? Particularly single family, multifamily. So any new construction, single family home, multifamily home built in Webster Groves, that dryer outlet she mentioned is already there.
Yeah.
So that's another option you guys can think about too.
Yeah, we're definitely.
And we have templates if you need,
How do we access those templates?
I can, see,
Okay, that'd be great.
yeah, with basically just what other municipalities have done.
Okay. Yeah, we have, I think, the Richmond Heights language, right?
Okay. Richmond Heights language is identical basically to Brentwood, so that's probably the one I would recommend.
All right. Anybody have any other questions right now?
I just learned a lot.
Very good stuff. This is wonderful.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
When you were mapping out kind of like the cost
Yeah.
analysis, what are you basing like this? Are you comparing like based on the inventory you're doing with the fleet? Are you looking at like a similar EV to the style that is, okay?
Yeah.
And then-
Yeah, so that's exactly what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, so we line up with what's released or what is pending release. So we'll go a little bit forward looking. We try to line up based off the specs that are out there. Sometimes not all the specs are out there, so then we can't, something I can do, it's not available. But that list keeps growing as time and keeps getting better.
Does anybody do photovoltaics directly to EV charging? I know it's DC power, right?
Yeah, people do. And DC works and it works just fine. People do it in their house. They do it in their house. You can do it with an inverter in your house. Conceptually though, it takes a whole lot of solar power to charge a car. Can be done. It works just fine. But it's more than just a canopy.
Mhm.
And we've got community solar programs that we've worked on. We compare community solar with community charging. I think it sounds like a great idea. But these are the reality is that canopy solar charging is less cost effective than getting up chargers. And at
You
least
need
in
to
my
do it
opinion-
at scale.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the challenge today is just to get the chargers up, get pragmatic, good, well-functioning, low-cost chargers up, so people have access to power. Because that's the key right now today. There just isn't enough access.
Do you know how much of Ameren's power is coming from renewables?
I do if I look through our integrated resource plan.
We can
Yeah, we can send it to you. Yeah. And then are you familiar with the our integrated resource plan? So we've got a plan, we file it, it was revised this year. We can send it to you, but it shows how we are changing our energy mix and the directions that we're going and what we're shutting down and what we're turning on.
I guess I'll say 15%.
That's my guess too. I just didn't want to speak out of it.
And Todd, our fleet is about assessed, right? Was that earlier this year?
Ken did that.
Yeah, okay, great.
Outside group did.
So 15% renewables,
I had to guess 15.
and the rest would be
It's a mix.
But it's a mix, but majority call.
majority.
Yeah. So we have a dam, so there's a number of different things that go on, but we'll send you the link later on, but the integrated resource plan is in a document that was updated earlier this year. It talks about specific production and where we're going to go with it.
That sounds great.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about an EV is that not only is it cleaner today, as the grid gets cleaner, it gets cleaner.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or if you have solar panels on your house, it's very thing too.
My
Everybody
roof
for
is
that.
too steep.
Right.
We tried.
We do have community solar though, so
Yeah.
I can send, if you guys don't have, we can send you a host of stuff with renewables as well, so.
Please send along.
Can you tell us what the community solar is? Is that like
Yeah.
Greenfield? that-
So community solar, you can buy into solar, right? Whether it's a residential home, small business, or even some of our largest business throughout our footprint now are buying into our solar programs.
So that means then your power is produced by solar somewhere else.
Yeah, so instead of you putting the capital cost of 10 to 15 grand or however much solar puts a cost to put on your roof, you can just pay a higher monthly charge and your energy will be received through renewable energy.
I signed up a couple of years ago, so I think it's like a third of your.
Well, it's done by project, so they're not
Yeah.
all the same.
So then what, you get like, these are my 6 solar panels in the field?
Basically, yeah. I would love to put your name on it. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be great information. We could share that. Yes, please. All right, thank you very much. You taking the time to come. I guess one thing.
Oh.
No, I'm cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, Eric left us from this previous meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Reach out if you guys have any questions.
Absolutely.
We talk about EVs all the time.
Also, have you guys connected with US Green Building Council, Emily Andrew?
Oh,
So
that was on the radar. Mhm.
I'm actually on the board, so if you guys want to connect, I can have. Cool.
Building Energy Exchange,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
On the radar,
All
for
right.
sure. All right, thanks, gentlemen.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. This is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and you talked to them before.
Yeah.
you brought
Yes,
us.
they're just
This
using
is great.
finance, they're-
He did these now.
Solar panels.
Oh, so we already did it now?
They don't, I didn't get a grant.
But we didn't talk about the-
No, gotcha.
I just didn't know it was ending. But he said,
Oh,
what am I
okay.
doing? Am I gonna miss out?
You,
Well, but he says, actually, that's gonna do 24.
You factored it into the cost.
I'm getting 64,000 up front. I'm gonna get 30,000.
That's a good deal.
Charging me this much for solar.
Yeah.
They're paying me.
This is all of this. Like, I'm going to like get Jeff my extra solar during the.
No, because we're tax exempt.
You can just, yeah, sign
We do
it.
not have tax credits.
Jeff shared with us, I don't know if anybody read that blog.
But
post.
on my solar that I'm looking at getting,
Yeah.
they have a program where an outside investor will pay for our solar. We pay them so that they can get the tax credit.
Oh,
Right, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Could that work with like procuring vehicles too, like if the dealer.
I haven't found anything like
But
Okay.
the new legislation has direct pay provisions, so even non-taxpayers can get the tax credit directly.
mhm.
I don't know how that.
that. Municipalities. Governments are screwed. Come on, this government screws governments, come on. You know that?
You shared that blog post with us,
Yeah.
that outlined ways,
Yeah.
the various ways that municipalities will be able to take advantage of some of the IRA.
Yeah.
So to take a closer look at that, I think would be a good, thing.
Technical consultants be able to.
Yeah, right, no kidding. No kidding. Okay, so that's a lot of information to process. I feel like our phase 2 conversation for where we might want to offer suggestions to council to consider, where the next spots could be. If we want to explore any, business district collaborations on where placements could go. I'm just looking at this as like, let's think outside the box here. I think our positioning right off of 44 would be advantageous. Now, I heard Ken say that, Missouri is in the plan to plan stage for, every 50 miles, like a, rest area or whatnot for charging, but that is years down the road. And so, what can Webster be doing in, 1 to 2 years down the road?
And Missouri got like a big chunk of money to put all those chargers in, correct?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if they're doing it every 50 miles, how do we get Webster to be,
On that biomarker.
how do we make this money become our money?
Yeah.
Good friends in MoDOT.
Well, that's like one question is where is the power available?
Right. Yeah, we're the best places. for that
Yeah.
point.
Which, and I don't know that.
And I mean, and this is my ignorance, is it along train lines? Like, Is that
No.
where lines
No,
go
Depends on the
sometimes?
grid.
Where someone has power.
I mean, think about going down 44, the train line is just north of that, and then there's those gigantic power lines. Remember, like they were up there, like replacing them or repairing them with helicopters not too long ago? Anyway, I'm just super curious.
Does Ameren have a map of like where the power, I don't know, hot spots are, you know what I mean?
Apparently, they have a company who does that sort of thing, and they would be happy to give us that company's name, but.
Should know, they should know
When-
where.
When they gave me the 3 local electricians that do the charging station installations. I met with all 3 of them. All 3 of them were chomping at the bit here because in the back, we've got right by our generator, with a power pole with a transformer. That's perfect. We can drop right off of that transformer to feed the
So
power.
it's where the transformers are.
So probably there's another one within the.
Oh, I'm sure.
city.
Yeah, I'm
City
sure.
would make this.
Transformer is blowing up all the time.
Are we doing the 240 volt or is it the 480?
We're doing the level 2s.
Yeah.
I think level 4 were too expensive.
Just look at.
64,000 for 6 chargers.
Yeah.
It would have been probably 3 times that
Yeah.
much for those.
So do other companies or
That's
does other electric charging stations do that? I don't know. Those of you that drive cars, electric cars.
Yeah, it wasn't
Where the charging. stations
infrastructure.
now in
Yeah.
Webster.
There's one at Llewellyn's, that's a level 2.
There's one in the parking garage behind Webster University in Eric's,
I think that's it.
or maybe more than one, I don't know.
So, you know.
There's
stay
a
away from
bunch
those
behind the
areas.
Target in Brentwood, which is
Yeah.
not.
The new
bad.
Tesla one.
Yeah, those are- Yeah.
South County Mall is only Tesla.
Yeah,
The Brentwood Rec Center had a couple.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, I think your idea of being off of 44 is a good one, and the rec center's right there with lots of parking spaces, so. If there's a source there, that would seem like good. And people do go in there for periods of time, right?
yeah,
So.
yeah. Was there ever conduit put, remember when the rec center parking lot was, Steve said that there was gonna be conduit put underneath there. Steve Wiley, the former city manager. No, okay.
There's conduit to the power poles.
Oh, but not to any spots. I wasn't hallucinating when I heard that. right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think what our next steps for this conversation are gonna be is we have our October 19th meeting with city council. Once we have some direction, you know, from them and they've we're moving forward, I think that this becomes a more important conversation and our planning for council to consider. What did you say, Pam? It's like one thing before the other. That said, I'm really glad that we have this information. We can sit with this for a little bit, process, and then when it comes time to organize to help pull that phase 2 together, then we'll revisit this.
Can I ask you a question about that meeting? You say we have a meeting, does that mean we are all?
No,
Okay,
no, I mean, Jeff and I are planning to present,
okay, no,
and
that's great, I
you
don't,
wanna come with like a hearing as a chief?
I don't feel hurt to be left out, I just don't have it in my calendar.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah, that's okay, all right.
Jeff and I are planning to present that, so. You guys can join by Zoom if you're super curious. Okay, so that's that. Anybody else have anything to say before we move forward?
We're gonna be here till 6 o'clock.
No, we're not, I promise.
With
I mean, we do have a bulky agenda, but I have it really streamlined. I want to get updates. So that everybody is being kept abreast of every situation, and then yeah, we're gonna whip through it, I promise, okay? But not in 4 minutes, but probably 10. Okay, so all business. The Webster Kirkwood Times, I'll give that update. When our neighbor came to share how frustrated she was with the red bags. I have been in communication with them all summer. They have the boxes that collect plastic bags at their office. And I've been working to get a box put here at City Hall and one in the rec center. And so those boxes are being delivered to the WKT, and Randy will let me know when those arrive, and then I will find the right spot with Scott and hear Todd with you. Do I find the spot?
Yeah,
with
I'll
you?
go, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be sure.
So Todd and I will coordinate that. And then a little bit, I'm gonna ask Jenny to do a little bit of signage for us to alert people to that. Then we are going to move forward with a note in the Friday page that Jenny will I'll help Jenny pull together. Our social medias that, I know I like and follow, but I don't know if anybody else does. And then the WKT is gonna put a little bit in their paper as well, some like an editorial type of thing to say, hey, if these become a nuisance, there's multiple places, including the Schnucks Collection Center right in the front door.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I apologize, because I know you've included me in all this correspondence. Will those be able to take all plastic bags or just the red?
So I think they can take all plastic bags, but I'm not gonna encourage that as
Right.
much. I wanna try to just be as focused as possible. Let's solve one problem. And then also I think we'll share in the communication. If you are into, bagging your bags, take those to
The
Schnucks.
next stuff, though.
Yeah,
Right.
the larger, if you have a larger bag of bags.
Yeah, I always have a
Oh.
big bunch. I'm not gonna just do. the
Swimming in
Right,
plastic, yeah, right. Oh, I'm
Oh,
gonna drop my red one off here and.
It's a super cool green bag.
Yeah.
Bags.
Okay,
We recycle all the plastic, like something comes wrapped in plastic, if it's stretchy.
all plastic wrap, we use bags and wrap, even your cereal bag on the inside of the box, that can be rinsed out and recycled with that bags, but try not to drop it off at City Hall. Okay, pumpkin composting, on to the next item.
So we should be set to be on November 5th. We're gonna say 8 to noon. Is that what we said, Jamie?
That's what we said.
And I am still trying to get a hold of the people. Oh, awesome. Of the people from St. Louis Compost. They have a new person on the phone line that I've called like 6 different times. So I will eventually get it. I am gonna ask them for a certificate of insurance. If for some reason they don't have one, which I assume they do because they're a large company, then do we have one from the city, or do we need like
Yeah,
the?
Aaron was working on that for me. I don't know what he ever did.
Fabulous, perfect.
I'll remind you.
Perfect, great. So yeah, it's all coming together, super fun, everyone should come.
Awesome, yes, we'll do shifts again, hopefully not everybody will be out of town like we were for Jazz Fest. But yeah, we'll have everybody sign up for shifts if you're interested in helping out smash some pumpkins. I do feel like this will be a bigger event.
We need to have-
John said at Jazz Fest, people
We
were
did have.
We're into it. Great.
Everybody,
They're all
Smashing pumpkins playing in the
the whole
back.
time.
in the United Methodist Church, the one on the corner there, who has the pumpkin patch. They're also gonna be advertising for us and putting their little, I said, no paint, no wax, so, yeah, I think we're gonna have a lot of pumpkins this year.
Thanks, Elizabeth, for doing that. I really
course.
appreciate it. Okay, the Mid-County Consortium, it's Richmond Heights, Maplewood. I don't know. Thank you. And we have been continuously meeting with the Director of Sustainability for the county. And this is kind of a cool thing that's just very organically happening, that we're going to be reaching out and have like a municipality summit at the beginning part of next year, hosted probably by Earthway Center. And to help municipalities kind of, if they don't have, if they're small, give them some ideas for, EV charging in the houses and that sort of thing. So policy ideas, and then like community outreach ideas that they can do based on those of us who are doing this work already. So probably a presenting opportunity there, which would be pretty cool. So that's the update with Mid-County, and that's also our Green Cities Challenge thing that we'll be crafting as well for when that time comes to present. I think that's March of next year. Okay, John. Can you speak to the greenhouse gas RFP that you and Jeff?
So I will tell you that Jeff and I have been working on this greenhouse gas RFP. There are multiple ones that you can look at online. We have taken several and modified them. I did pass this by a consultant that I use quite often. I think these people are pretty silk stocking. They're very, very good. They're in Pennsylvania. Because I want to find out, what do you think this is going to run? She told me she thinks that this effort is going to run, this is ballpark, anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. Depending on how much community involvement you're asking people to have. What we put into the RFP did ask them to come to like 2 or 3 different events and explain what we're doing. And so, I don't know if that's the kind of budget we're planning on putting to this, but I think if we're going to do something like this, that's what it's gonna cost us.
Is this the energy audit that you were speaking of?
Greenhouse
Is it
Greenhouse
changed?
gas
Is
audit.
that more specific than an energy audit, or is that just another term for it?
It's different. I
It's
think, than an
different,
energy
yeah.
audit, because they have to look at, there's like 3 different scopes of greenhouse gas production that they have to quantify. This is only really for city owned and controlled property. There are consultants who do this, around, it's a relatively new field, I think. Yeah, that's what it's gonna run, so. I think
Now we know.
before we press too far ahead with this, or certainly go out to the market for this, we need to understand what it is that we're getting involved with.
The Energy Star portfolio manager would do it if we could just link electric bills that we're getting from Ameren and all that for all the city-owned buildings. It won't probably go as detailed. That's,
So,
Got those.
yeah.
yeah, part of it is like.
Finance gave them to me, so you want me to send them to you?
Well, I think that was part of my task. I need to get, there's somebody in the city that I can connect that can help me get an email address, like a standard email
Oh, yeah,
address.
yeah, you were saying
That's
that,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so like.
Or
can't
what?
remember. So I need to create an account for Webster.
So we do have a portfolio manager account that Eric Luders, who used to be on the commission, has set up.
Okay,
It hasn't been updated since 2018. I think Jeff and I met with him right before the pandemic or something along those lines.
so if we have that password or
Yeah,
some way to get in there,
Yeah.
if you can shoot that to me, and then if you can shoot me the bills, I'll start merging that together, see what we get, because I couldn't get past that step without having an email address.
You-
I don't think it's gonna be as detailed as we were talking about, but.
Well, I can send you to what it is that we're asking for. I'm sure that something like portfolio manager, essentially your energy consumption is
Scope one.
first start, right?
I mean, scope 3 gets really complicated.
Very
That's where you need all the technical assistance, but I think. Scope 1, I don't know if we were, what
One
we
and
were
two are
looking
probably
at.
pretty easy. It's
Yeah.
probably pretty easy.
Yeah, so we limit it to that, it would be. Seems like it would be a little bit less of a lift and less money. But I don't know, I don't think anyone's gonna. Consulting firms are gonna come out and do a level 1. I mean, that's just depending on what their while is.
okay.
Opposed to
Yeah, I don't know.
the full Monty.
And so just to like turn the conversations, when we have this information, what do we do with it?
Well, then that's when the energy audit would come into play. And then in the city buildings, we could find areas where we can make improvements or stronger efficiency so we can lower our greenhouse gas emissions. So that is basically, we don't know where we are number wise in order to improve upon mysterious numbers. So
No,
that is,
I get that. Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder, though, I mean, have we, like, are there things that we can do that we would know would improve our energy efficiency without spending $40,000 to get
well,
this information?
I'm glad.
I mean, we're gonna improve our greenhouse gas emissions by having electrified vehicles in our fleet.
Mhm.
It's all incremental.
What I think is really important for our community to understand and why, council has allocated dollars to sustainability and are putting solar panels up is to understand where we are as a baseline. And then so that's why I feel like it's important to, pin this moment so that as we start to make these improvements, these are the set of
We
our
can say,
values.
look and
We can
see
say,
what
look
we-
at how this has improved our efficiencies and lowered our greenhouse
If you have
gases.
another meeting with your consortium friends, can you ask them if any of those places have asked for a greenhouse
Yeah.
gas audit?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the city of St. Louis and they hired a consultant named Renee, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. And I just looked her up and it's like she's at St. Louis Senior Program Manager at St. Louis Community College. So that's why I was thinking, I think I've seen other cities that have worked through local universities to do these things. And it looks like she got help from the ICLEI, that is Local Government for Sustainability.
John, is this an Emily Andrews?
So I also contacted Emily and I haven't had a chance to talk to her about it. She said there are a couple local consultants that do this.
Okay. But based on like, I'm so glad you did this work, so we
My
understand.
guess
the
is
scope
if
and the
my
money.
guys from Pennsylvania told me it was like 20 to 40. It's gonna be less than that. But I don't know how much, I mean, maybe it'll be half that cost, but still, you know, it might be 10, 20.
I guess it's just what exactly do we need to understand in order to know where we need to make improvements? Like at what level? Like super granular, then we're spending that kind of money. If it's something
But
that
it's-
like,
It's not just knowing where we need to make improvements, though, it's having the data to show what kind of improvements we've made at your works, right?
mhm,
Which is maybe different. You know what I mean? Like that might be more specific.
yeah. What do we feel like should be the, you
Yeah, do
know,
we have a budget? I mean, like if I knew kind of what I thought our budget would be, then I could start to talk to
You
people
guys have
about it.
$1,000.
the thing, well, that's
$1,000.
our
Then
budget
we
for like
should do-
communications and
Then
honorarium.
We need to do it on our own.
If you want to do that kind of consultant thing, you gotta get the council on board.
Right,
And they'll have to.
You have $100,000 and I don't know how you've allocated it. You have $100,000 to spend between now and 2026.
Yeah,
But
this,
would you want to spend 40% of it
No.
on a consultant?
No.
So,
Let's do this thing, with the portfolio manager and see what it comes back with,
Yeah.
because it says in there, it targets, it tells you your buildings, it identifies which ones are wasteful. And gives you a plan to start to target how to replace that and fix that.
okay.
Does Ameren do energy audits? No cost or low cost?
They have like a list of people that.
That don't.
Yeah, I don't think they.
Contract with,
yeah.
Okay.
but your greenhouse gas emission
Is it
is
different
much
than an energy
different than
Yeah.
an energy audit.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
looking at, like, just how does the way your society operate, you know? How much energy do people expend to do what they do in the community or come here or when they're here? It's,
And like we, as the city of Webster Groves, cannot change the fact that Ameren uses most of the coal, right? And that's just gonna be. That has to do, that impinges on our greenhouse gas impact. Right, like I can remember having students do that carbon footprint calculator, which is really not meant to help individual people change their lifestyles, right? And one of my students was like, well, what I learned is that if I lived in Sweden, that would be the best thing I could do to lower my carbon footprint. Because it does, it takes in all of those societal, you know, values and habits and ways of doing things that we as individuals, or even as a community, can't necessarily change. Is that's.
so I have a question though. The one thing is, it sounded like, and I want, maybe I'm missing something, but the last meeting we had, we were talking about auditing the city buildings and things. And when you talk about greenhouse gases, it does go to community. And are we ready for that yet? Or are we just gonna be doing the city-owned properties or, you know, city efforts?
If we stick with the city-owned properties, we can get the energy use index and convert that over to the greenhouse gas.
in the
And so is
RFP,
that-
I'm not asking them, we're not asking them to do, it's just city-owned property. Things that the city controls.
So when she was asking about community,
Well, so
She said
if
she
you
needed-
like read what we wrote, and granted,
Okay, maybe
I'm
we
taking
can
this
read-
from other places.
yeah,
And you're spending city money, you typically would want to have someone come in to talk to people about, you know, like, what are we doing and why are we doing this? And then after you put the report out, then you've asked them to come back and talk about what's in the report and what was the methodology and how would you use this?
so it's just community engagement.
Yeah, community engagement.
Well, I say for where we are right now, let's kind of pump the brakes a little on the RFP idea, because I don't want to spend that kind of money on
I'll get
this.
a second opinion.
So
Okay.
what if you useful to reach out to this person's done the city of St. Louis
Find out what
GHG
they're saying.
survey
Yeah, I
for
think so.
5 times, and she is co-chair of the 1STL Energy and Emissions Working Group.
Oh,
And leading the initiative for St. Louis Regional Greenhouse Gas Emissions Inventory.
Okay,
Might be someone who would, sounds like it's right in her wheelhouse to.
Yeah, because last month when we were talking about this, I was texting my sustainability manager for our company and she said, go the portfolio energy route. And then once you get the EUI from that, you can translate, she'll help us translate that into greenhouse gases. And if we have the vehicles for all the Webster owned vehicles, you can translate that pretty simply over the greenhouse gases. And then we can get our total usage and you can break it down for building the vehicle.
so would it be best for us to have updated our portfolio manager
Yeah.
before we reach out to this person? Is that?
Or you can see, just, she can verify if.
Let's find out what
mileage
you
is right.
did.
Yeah.
See what you did.
Yeah, I mean, their city's report is like 32
The
pages. I mean, it's
city's
not,
huge, you know,
yeah.
I mean,
Jeff, would you be willing, do you have bandwidth to reach out to her?
yeah, I could try.
Okay, and then Mike, you and I, do you want to talk about this before our next meeting? And I can hook you up with like all the information with the greenhouse gas portfolio manager or the portfolio manager, like passwords and that sort of thing.
Okay, perfect. And then
I'll get you,
accounts.
yeah, I wrote down some new bills.
Perfect.
Okay, great, awesome. Okay, team, thanks. All right, and thank you, John and Jeff Mazer, for your work on that to this point. Really appreciate that. Forever Webster Grove priorities. Like I said earlier, Jeff and I are going, we've met with Eric Peterson. We are going to be sitting down and Jeff and I organizing a presentation, a short presentation for council to consider with the outlined priorities that we've already discussed. So I just wanted to let you all know that that's where that is, and I will probably share that out with you once we have that finished. And really quick, and old business is not on the agenda, but I want to shout out to Elizabeth, who did the tabling for the back to school for Webster Grove School District. And she handed out some bags and had some fun with the wheel and there. And then Amna also helped with that. And then Amna and John tabled for us at Jazz Fest. And
It's fun, it's hot.
It was packed though, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, earlier.
She
I
did the
was
early
with
shift.
her on, it was
Oh,
a
okay.
little slow, but I was happy about it. It was.
It said Alvin Oak set records.
wow,
Oh, wow.
good for them. That's great. So yeah, fun community event. Thank you so much. Who knew all of us would be out of town? We've been talking about this for so long. Okay, really appreciate the support though, everyone. Okay, new business. A quick update here, the Green Space Alliance Commission and us, our commission have met. Carla, do you want to talk
Yeah, but I
briefly
can be
about
super-
that?
Super brief, yeah. So Jamie and I met with two people, and I don't remember their names.
Corin and Carrie.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And we mostly talked about a stormwater management plan and how it would be good for Webster to have one. And that's something we could collaborate on. And we actually have a meeting set up for next week with two people who are more expert than we are on these things, hoping we can kind of join in with some other municipalities who have those plans, and Deer Creek Watershed Alliance is kind of coordinating all of that. And I think there was maybe some grant money possibly
Mhm.
available. But anyway, especially given all the flooding and the problems with the flooding, we thought it would be really a timely topic. I know they would potentially like to collaborate on some speakers and educational activities. And so it's not just the stormwater plan, but that conversation really took off.
Yeah, really exciting. And I think especially in the wake of Douglas Hill, what we've learned, is that we really, as a city, it would be a great idea to be prepared for big things like that and have a better grip on what all of that looks like.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, good point, right? For any future development, it's especially important to have a better handle on stormwater.
that's right. That's right. Thanks, Carl. Appreciate that. And thank you for being part of that collaboration. Christmas light recycling is going to happen again. Mike has generously agreed to run that program for us this year. And then not on the agenda, but also really important to mention that the traffic group and our commission are still planning to collaborate. The way that the green space collaboration happened was from the mayor. And so I reached out to her and I said that felt really official and appropriate in what we want to have done, especially when we're looking at money like $100,000, which I know is not gobs of money, but it's also not a little, so we have to be responsible. So I am waiting on Laura's cue, Mayor Arnold's cue, to set up that collaborative meeting. So stay tuned. Paul has agreed to work with that, Jeff, and not you, right? No, there was someone else. Can't think of. Okay, so forgive me for the third person. So that is what I have. All right, Pam, do you have any council update?
I did sit in on the collaboration meeting and that seems very promising. And it's great to see you guys talking about doing things together. But I also like seeing your separate identities as well. Council is working on strategic planning. We're getting started with that. We have a strategic planning subcommittee. We have a boards and commissions subcommittee that are meeting and working on various things together. And that is it. I mean, as far as the flooding, we're going through SEMA activities and determining what's going to happen with some of those properties. We did learn which ones are like substantially damaged versus damaged. And I think it may be tomorrow or at the next October meeting, MSD is going to be coming to meet with us. Talk with that. We're also trying to collaborate with Brentwood Bound to find out what the city of Brentwood is up to and thinking about that.
So Pam,
So,
MSD is gonna come to a council meeting.
yes.
Will you, I'll try to pay attention to when that is, because I feel like I need to
Okay.
attend that meeting. If you remember, would you be able to pass that along when you get?
I
you know,
will know
catch the
for
date.
sure when I look at the agenda tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that might be specifically important to us, so yeah.
And remember,
Yes. you're
they want
next.
us and Green Space and MSD to have a public
Yes.
meeting. We need some dates.
Okay. And you, but you want dates from this commission?
Yes. And
Okay.
you guys would be available to do that, several dates so that we can get with Green Space and then we can send it to MSD and see when they're available.
Okay, Carla?
Wait, I'm confused. What are we doing?
So we are going to meet with,
Open house meeting. Sustainability, Green Space and MSD on flooding issues.
Oh, okay.
so we'll
We
be like,
didn't talk about that at that meeting.
no, we
did
didn't. This,
Oh, okay.
this
Kind
came,
of another.
yeah.
Okay, current MSD is a concurrent conversation.
Yes.
Okay. I was just
Now
worried about
coming
my
together, now
memory.
coming together. Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll be tabling there, right? We won't be like a panel.
No, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so it's not like, as my kids would say, it's not that serious. Okay, but it's serious, but it's
Right.
not like I have to prepare a presentation. Okay, good.
Correct.
Todd, anything?
Okay, so sustainability coordinator. We're gonna look at applying for a grant to fund that. Dr. Peoples thinks it should be more of a part-time position, not a full-time position. And she found a sustainability coordinator job description. You
Okay,
guys want to take one and pass it around? Just so that we can get some ideas on how we're gonna write our job description for this
Okay.
position.
Uh-huh.
And that, because we're gonna have to have that for part of the grant.
okay.
Did you get to?
Okay, I was able to get it.
Yeah. The staple made me more than one.
So it's got like the list of the, central job duties, of what, and go through this and see if these are things that you were looking
Okay,
at, what you would think would help us. So-
okay.
And
Yeah,
then we can put together our job description, because that'll be part of the grant, I'm sure.
yeah. Okay. Absolutely. I have other questions about that, but I will, those at a different time.
And I thought sustainability coordinator was a good title.
Yeah,
I don't know what you
Yeah.
guys feel on it.
yeah, I do. I like that too. It's really
Czar not.
Yeah, no, Zara was not.
sustainability,
Or director.
connective
She
tissue.
didn't like the director.
Yeah,
It was-
Where is Brighton?
I don't know.
Colorado.
This is Colorado, yeah.
cool. I'm also, I have it saved in my tabs to look at Columbus, Ohio, because they have a really robust sustainability game going on, so. Look there,
See if they have a coordinator position.
yeah,
Or we can steal from there.
yeah, for sure.
They
No need
kinda
for me
know
to
that-
look weird,
pay less.
probably.
Well, we're gonna pay way less too.
Probably.
This is a full-time position.
Okay, Todd, any,
That's all I have.
you're good, okay, awesome. All right, our next meeting is set for Monday, October 17th. Today, and if we're all good, then we just need a motion to adjourn. Unless, does anybody have any questions or need any comments? And it is 5:22.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Carla.
Second.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, team, thank you.
Oh, we didn't vote.
Oh, all in favor.
You're gonna stay here then.
Awesome, thank you everyone for your